Buddy, my name is Matt Jarbo. This is the Mundane Matt channel, and with Comic-Con comes a whole bunch of new announcements for entertainment properties, and I've been covering a bit of that over on my channel, $3 Theater, which the link for that is in the video description. But that being said, one of my favorite things about these announcements are people's reaction to them. As we saw earlier, an Entertainment Weekly reporter got super butthurt when Johnny Depp and Amber Heard were both at the same place at the same time to promote their respective movies, even though they had no interaction with each other whatsoever, but she still took it upon herself to virtue signal, pearl clutch, and couch faint from Twitter. And now we find ourselves talking about, something that doesn't need to be made. It doesn't need to be remade, but I have to laugh, though, as to why feminists are mad at this being a reality. What we're seeing here is Buffy the Vampire Slayer is getting a reboot with a black woman in the lead role. Joss Whedon is in fact going back and remaking this movie. It says here, it's been 21 years since Joss Whedon's Buffy the Vampire Slayer first arrived on the scene with its seminal mix of urban fantasy, teen angst, and clever world building and wordplay. Now Whedon has announced that he will revive his beloved series for the new generation of Slayers with one plot twist. Working with 20th Century Fox TV through its cable and streaming development arm, Fox 21 Studios, Whedon will produce an inclusive reboot of Buffy, starring a black woman in the iconic title role originally played by Sarah Michelle Gellar. To that, I just have to point out, what about Christy Swanson in the original 1993 movie? Are we going to forget about that? Are we going to forget about Luke Perry? Are we going to forget about Paul Rubens as a vampire and Rutger Hauer in the movie? Are we going to forget about the iconic film that kickstarted the show? I love that it's I love that gets left behind quite often. That movie is great, by the way. And I still, like you're saying, I can separate the art from the artist. Joss Whedon is just a rube in many cases, but he does produce some pretty good art. This was being one of them. But look, let's be fair here. Buffy the Vampire Slayer is an iconic piece of pop culture from the 90s. Bringing it over, starring Sarah Michelle Gellar, then having several seasons of that with several different characters. You had women characters, you had inclusive characters, you had LGBT romance characters, you had romance subplots, you had all of these things that were kind of taboo at the time, but Joss Whedon was fighting for over on the WB, and then was very much, lauded for that back then. That's one of the reasons why he was considered for a time a rogue feminist icon, simply because Joss Whedon was the type of guy who was going to be bringing this to the main stage, bringing this to television in a very interesting way that brought in a lot of people. Now, the thing to remember here is when you want to talk about inclusivity and diversity in these shows, you don't ever want to lead with that, right? That's not how it works. That's not how it should work. But people always, they want to get those headlines, diverse, inclusive Buffy reboot. And you're like, but why? But why? Like, what's the point? Why reboot it? And why race bend the main character? It doesn't make any sense. No one wants that. Like, no one is clamoring for that. But there are people out there that are going like, well, no, this is a great thing. And there's not many of them from what I've seen, but there are a few. My favorite thing about this, though, it does boil down to the argument of why not just create something new? Why rely on old storytelling, old characters, and in essence, old tropes, right? And that is what brings me to this particular tweet that I have to say I wholeheartedly agree with here. Anita Sarkeesian is not happy with it. She says here, I just screamed no at the top of my lungs. Why, God, please, for the love of all that is good, do not do this. Saying on here, I'd be here for a show based in the same universe and lore, say for instance around Frey the comic, but Buffy comes from a very specific moment in media history, especially feminist media history. I'm afraid no matter how talented the folks involved are, it wouldn't live up to it. And you know what? She's 100% correct. See, Anita, we do agree on certain things every once in a while. No, she's 100% correct. All right. It is rooted where it's rooted. It is rooted in that time. It is meant to be where it's at. If you try to re-up it and then you try to add what is currently pop culture to that particular stylings, and considering that this is probably going to end up going back like to the CW, even though it's being worked on through Fox 21 TV studios, they're probably going to sell it to CW, and they're probably going to make it more like Riverdale, because that's kind of where things are right now. And even Netflix is doing the Sabrina spinoff that's from the same creative team as Riverdale. So you've got like, you kind of can see where this is already going. And so Anita actually is on point by saying, yeah, this is dumb. This is a terrible idea. This is a terrible thing. This should not happen, because you can't reboot something and then try to recapture the magic. If it was trying to, let's say, go and again be a contemporary take on it in terms of new characters and in current times, perfectly fine. Bring back Sarah Michelle Gellar as a mentor character or as a character every once in a while. Have the new girl, have her do her thing, have her own character, her own history, her own lore, her own adventures, her own friends, her own subplots, her own romantic interests. That would be the best course of action. Now, this is just retreading for the sake of retreading to get diversity points. This is seriously just trying to check off a list at this point in order to make it seem as hip as they possibly can. It's not going to fly with a lot of people out there. It's really not, because okay, look, here's the thing. Nerds, and I'll even include Anita in this, because she clearly vocalized her opinion. So we'll toss her a bone at this point in time. Maybe not on video games. I would trust her. I would say she's definitely, because of her love of Buffy, I would say she's probably coming at that from more of a very, of a fangirl perspective. As a knowledgeable expert, subject matter expert of Buffy, I'd give her that one. Definitely not video games, but Buffy I would give her. And so she, she probably gets it. We get it. How many times do you hear about this reboot and you're like, ugh, why? It's so stupid. It doesn't need to be here. No one cares. That's kind of where we find ourselves with this right here, is everyone's on board with this, except for Joss Whedon, which tells me that he's kind of at the end of his creative rope. He's at the end of his creative journey, because now he's going back and he's going to be recapturing old glory, but trying to find a new, interesting way to tell the story, which no one really cares for. Why not just have another Slayer that just happens to be a black woman? I'm cool with that. I have no problem with that. But why Buffy? And then also, why Vox? Why lie? Why say that Sarah Michelle Gellar was the original? It's Chrissy Swanson. I just want to once again give some love to K Swan. I really like the movie. So yeah, that's where we find ourselves on this one. You have to kind of laugh at it. Feminists are mad at the Buffy the Vampire Slayer reboot. And Anita Sarkeesian is going to be extremely vocal about that. Hey, listen, if it gets her attention off of lying about video games, and also lying about Sargon of Akkad, then I think it's going to be better for everybody. Because Anita, this is what I've been saying. This is what I've been saying to you for a long time. You need to pick something you can actually have an impact on. Joss Whedon personally. We've seen the photos. Okay, you've touted it around a little bit. Why not just use this as a new project, right? Go after this one. Save Buffy. Can you do that? I think if you were to come out there and hashtag save Buffy and try to make it a thing, that people would probably, go like, you know what? I can respect that. I can respect that. And maybe you might get a couple new fans out of it. People that are like, man, maybe she's not entirely, stuck up. Maybe she's got a little bit of spunk in her. I don't know. I just think it's funny that Mr. Feminist Icon is going to have this thrown back in his face so hard, because the fan base that grew up with this, the fan base that looks at Buffy as a feminist icon, are not going to want to have that messed with, and they're going to be vocal. Some might say that they're afraid of their childhoods being ruined. Kind of funny how that particular argument creaks its head back around. But that being said, I just wanted to touch base on this one for you guys. Let me know what you think in the comments below. My name is, of course, Matt Jarbo. This is the Mundane Matt channel. If you haven't already, toss it a thumbs up. Definitely let me know what you think. I'll talk to you guys later. Have yourself a great day, and peace out. If you enjoyed this video, please consider becoming a patron today for just $1 per month over at patreon.com/mundanematt.